Good afternoon, everyone. We would like to welcome you to our webinar called CarrierGrade Radios for the Enterprise Market, Maximizing Lifecycle ROI. And I will introduce Garrett Kellner from CTIconnect. Garrett?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Garrett Kellner. I'm the Managing Director of Operations here at CTIconnect. I'll do a brief background and overview of CTIconnect and then hand over the presentation and webinar to Intracom. Next slide, please. So CTIconnect is celebrating our 25th year in the telecom market space. We're a premier distributor of fixed wireless, telecom, and network infrastructure. Our main service that we're servicing mainly ISPs, utility, government, enterprise, transportation, and industrial networks in North America and CALA. We offer world-class engineering, network design, and superior supplier chain services. We currently have 2 distribution centers, one outside of Chicago in Burr Ridge, Illinois, and another outside of Austin, Texas in Round Rock, Texas. CTIconnect is part of the Convergence Technologies, and we offer an in-house brand of hardware and accessories called Apex 9. Convergence Technology consists of these 4 subsidiaries: CTIconnect, Mitotech, which offers IT network and infrastructure services, IPPay, which offers payment processing, gateway, and billing services, and iNet Capital that offers leasing, financial services, and loans. And with that, I'll pass over the presentation to Alec Cernik. Go ahead, Alex.
Thank you very much. All right, so thank you everyone for your time. So we've scheduled an hour for this presentation. Presentation is titled CarrierGrade Radios for Enterprise Market to Maximize Lifecycle ROI. The way we set up this presentation was for 45 minutes. We'll go through a slide deck, and then we've opened that up for 15 minutes at the end for Q&A. For those of you who have not used this program before, there is a Q&A button at the bottom. Please enter any questions you have. We will address them at the end, and by any reason we do not get to your particular question, we will make sure we reach out and have a one-on-one conversation with you. So the way we built this presentation, again, was in 4 parts. The first section, we'll talk about Intracom Telecom. We'll go over just a little bit about our background, but more importantly, we'll go over the product lines we're here today, which are the E-band and V-band products, and then we'll talk a little bit about how we compare versus the industry. We'll also emphasize how we're optimizing our radio planning, how we're optimizing our networking suite, and then again at the end, we'll have 15 minutes for Q&A. So, beautiful view. Intracom Telecom is based in Italy. Greece. Yes, based in Greece. So we're running a nice promo. First person who sells 1,000 links gets a free trip. Now, I like that one. I was working on some sort of jokes. So Intracom has been in the industry for over 40 years. So right here, 40 years of experience. What makes us really unique is our ability to invest in ourselves. And that can be showcased in our 3 R&D centers. So we've got over 1,800 employees. We've got presence in 17 countries. We export just about everywhere. So over the last 40 years, again, we've been developing a name for ourselves as a worldwide brand. 5 years ago, however, we entered the U.S. market. And our U.S. market strategy was exclusively carriers. So we have been integrated, embedded into carrier networks. To use 2, for example, would be Verizon and T-Mobile. Our product lines serve 4 different product business units. So we're targeting telecom operators, utility companies, large enterprises, healthcare institutions, and public authorities. The conversation today is all going to be based on this business unit right here, which is the wireless access and transmission. That will be our fixed wireless products, in particular our E-band and V-band solutions. We also have a telco software solution. This is our IPTV solutions. We have a product business unit targeting smart cities for video and surveillance, and that's a hybrid IoT module and software suite. And finally, we have a suite of products targeting the energy sector with smart grids and energy management solutions. This is a fantastic map. It showcases our presence in the world. It's also very color-coded. But what you'll take here is we've got, again, 3 different R&D facilities, production facilities. This is a worldwide brand. Today we'll talk about our products here, which are E-band 80 gigahertz product, and we also have a V-band 60 gig product. They fall in 3 different classifications: transport, aggregation, and last mile. Again, this is millimeter wave, but we also have a licensed microwave 6 to 42 gigahertz product, single core and dual core solution, and a point to multi-point license solution highlighting the 24, 26, and 28 gigahertz license bands. Let's see. All right, here we go. So what brought most of us here today, and I hate to say the new normal, but I have multiple calls per day, and they pertain to roughly the same thing. They're service providers who have reached unprecedented levels. It can be through enhanced subscriptions. It could be customers who are increasing their plans, but their networks are becoming oversaturated. So using myself as an example, I live in a house. It's my wife and 2 kids. I've got a 6-year-old girl, a 4-year-old boy, and virtually everyone is on at all times. I'm on doing video conferences, using a VoIP phone. My wife's on there. She's accessing an NCIS database. She's doing voice calls with work. I got kids who are actually more savvy than I am, streaming content to cell phones, and literally 5 TVs, all with cut cables and streaming content and service. I mean, myself, I had a 300 meg plan. I upgraded to a gigabit per second. I bring this up because I am not a unique case. And I believe that's part of the reason we're here today is how do we find a product that allows us to change the status quo, to go further distances, to offer more bandwidth, and to be more reliable. And we'll address that throughout the duration of this. So as I said, the new norm, which is social distancing, telecommunication, video streaming. I mean, heck, I'm even teaching a class 3 days a week virtually with Google, have all created this unparadigm network oversaturation. And where Intracom comes in particular, is our ability to offer carrier-grade solutions. So carrier-grade to us is the ability to maximize the life cycle ROI, return on investment, and to optimize the TCO, total cost of ownership. And we do that by really putting it in 3 buckets. So for us, it's having a superior radio configuration and performance while having advanced network features. And that, to me, is system gain. We have a product that has up to 8 dB more gain than anyone else out there. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail in other slides. But that's giving us the ability to do 4 main things. To exceed what was once possible for distance. And this could be servicing paths up to 5 miles plus. This could be having multi-gig capacity, having 3 gig or 10 gig, giving you the ability to really scale and future-proof your network. It's being able to be more reliable, and that could be increasing your reliability. That could be migrating from what's either licensed or legacy technology for sub-6 to multi-gig transport. And that can be having advanced layer 2 features. Now, the other bucket we have is service and support. So not only are we disruptive in technology, but we have a product line that has some of the best support characteristics out there. And that can be our documentation, that can be our 24/7 support, or that can be our industry-leading 3-year warranty with 30-day repair and replace. Now, the third bucket we have here is ease of installation and ongoing maintenance. Our ability to have a product that is quick and easy to install, and that can be illustrated through our quick alignment tools, easy to maintain, and easy to support. And all that is done with our proprietary radio chipset. Now, when you look at all the vendors in the marketplace, each one of them are using comparable chipsets. So that gives roughly the same characteristics. It gives the same reliability, the same gains. By using our state-of-the-art in-house brand, we're able to do those 4 things. Push the ability in what's possible by going further distances, by offering you more capacity, being more reliable, and by having integrated layer 2 features built into this radio. We are also the most spectrally efficient radio in the market. That means we can achieve up to 10 gig of capacity leveraging 1500 megahertz channels. Now, the best way to showcase this is through an actual example. And this is one of our tier 1 operators who has roughly 120 million subscribers. You can guess who this could be. The path here was 5.1 miles. Now, characteristics would have to happen. We had to demonstrate 10 gigs. And with this particular link, we were able to offer 10 gigs with 3 nines and 8 reliability. And again, this is showcasing the strength and the robustness of that chipset. Now, as we all know, with millimeter wave technology, what happens when it rains is the big question. Multipathing isn't a problem. These radios are barely susceptible. So if you're talking a 5-mile link, I mean, that could be on a clear day, 5 nines, 4 nines of availability. It's what happens when the worst happens. When it rains, when it pours, how does that radio adapt down? Is it seamless? Is it hitless? And what does that availability look like? And those are some of the things we're going to talk about in detail. Now, part of that is, how do you plan it? How do you maximize overall performance? How do you future-proof and protect yourself by having a radio that is scalable and granular to support yourself now and for the future? Now, at this point, we will ask you to participate. We have a selection tool. So if you could choose one of the 4 here, what we're trying to get at is an understanding of what are some of your major pain points? What are some of the reasons that brought you here? It just popped up in front of you. Is distance your biggest constraint? Do you need a product that gets you up to 4 miles and 5 miles and have it to be reliable? Is it reliability? Do you have a vendor and you're talking 2 miles and 3 miles and it's just not reliable enough when it rains? Is that one of your major constraints? Are you talking about limited capacity being your biggest hurdle? Maybe you've got Ubiquity or Mimosa or EPMP, some sub-6 gig product, and you are seeing oversaturation in that link. Do you need a gigabit or multi-gig solution that will help offset? Or are you looking for something with robust layer 2 features that will allow you to get rid of some of those costly layer 2 switches at some of your endpoints? If you wouldn't mind, if you can select which one of these is most important to you. While I am waiting, we will move to a, God, I did it again. All right. A very colorful slide. Now, I was told to find a joke to tell. I unfortunately don't know any that would be appropriate. So I Googled it, and I have two. So while everyone is filling this out, I will tell two fantastic, wonderful jokes. The first is, and wait for this, what is Tom Hanks's wireless password? This is a tough one. What is Tom Hanks's wireless password? And the answer is 1 Forest 1. Yes, the internet. The last one is, who's the director of the first wireless movie? And that is Christopher Nolan. I should change my career to comedy, right? All right. So thank you so much for filling that out. This brings up our... Oh, hold on. Ha! All right, try it again. There we go. This brings up our product portfolio. Now, as I mentioned prior, our products fall into two different buckets. You have 60 gig and you've got 80 gig or E-band line. Now, most of what we have here talking about is our E-band radio. I will bring up and mention one thing with our 60. Our 60 is, if it's really unique or niche applications, what makes that compelling is, again, it's a showcase of the R&D it puts into it. It's a 1.6 gigabit full duplex link. It has embedded antennas, and the reason it has embedded antennas is because it virtually installs itself. It was made for a novice to install it. We put it up at the last Future Bowl. A electrician put it up. Very limited wireless knowledge. He threw it up on a cow. I think we were using cellular backhaul is the application. Put up in 10 minutes. So it was designed for Europe. You can only close the streets for 15 minutes. You literally can do it with one person, and you can do an install in 10 minutes or less. So you literally point it in the right direction, lock in, go to the other half, do the same thing, and you've got a viable 1.6 gigabit link. Also, same thing from self-healing. If wind comes in, becomes misaligned, again, you set your tolerances, and through this particular radio, you have the first auto-healing radio. Again, these are important because it showcases the R&D that's put into these radios. So with our E-band product in our family, we have, through that chipset, the ability to really push the envelope. So for our Ultralink FX80 product, this is our 3 gigabit per second. It's full duplex. We have a 10 gig product with our Ultralink GX80. We have a TDD line. So we see this a lot where it's very price conscious, where we are displacing sometimes like a sub 6 gig technology. You need a little bit more to bandwidth. So we've seen that as a model for there. And then on our roadmap coming shortly, we'll have the industry's highest capacity link. This will be a 30 gigabit full duplex link in a 1+0 architecture. And that'll be the Ultralink XR80. So with these suites of products, we are pushing the envelope again on what is possible. And it comes down to system gain. System gain is what we're getting out of that chipset. So it's not transmit power. That's part of the physics of what the FCC will mandate. This is based on receive sensitivity. We're able to get, based on our modulation schemes, more gain at various levels than anyone else. So radios that can have over 100 dB of system gain. So to quantify this at a high level, so let's say if we're talking 256 QAM or 128 QAM modulation, when we're looking at our 10 gig radio, we could have up to 5 dB more than our competition. And at the low end, And this is important, especially when you're testing the limits on distance. When you're talking your 4, your 5, and even your 6-mile links, we have up to 8 dB more. So again, that gives us the ability to push the envelope, especially when it rains. That coupled with our ACM, and we base that on 3 criteria. RSSI, we base that on SNR, and we base that on the LDPC stress. So we have a very granular, very robust modulation switching when the worst happens via rain. So having a 5 dB advantage in regards to system gain could correlate to, in extreme cases, the difference between a 1-foot or 2-foot dish. It could correlate in most times between reliability of having 3 nines versus 4. So as a TCO argument, we have a huge savings here associated to CapEx, antennas, and OpEx could be the tower renting space. Another unique of our company, again, being the depth and breadth, is our antennas. One of our subsidies is Fahini Telecom Systems. We have an antenna that is built for our radios. So if you're looking at current market incumbents, they're leveraging very good manufacturer brands, CommScope, Radio Waves, RFS, but these are antennas that are made to be generic, made to work with any player out there on the street. This is a purpose-built antenna designed exclusively for the Intracom radio. And what this is able to offer is up to 1 dB more gain, and that's 0.5 per end. Now you take that and you couple that to the system gain numbers we talked in the previous slide, and you have a solution that, I don't want to say it can do the impossible, but it can push the envelope on what was preconceived to be possible. Now, George, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to say here that then that 1 dB is it's actually a very good benefit that we have. That that half dB that we have per antenna combined on both sides of the link because of that purpose-built antenna is what gives us that 1 dB, and that's critical. Okay, so moving forward, by the way, my name is George Harlaftis, and I'm leading the pre-sales for the local office here in Atlanta for Intracom Telecom. So another thing that I wanted to talk about is how you future-proof your hardware. This is one critical factor you have to consider when it comes down to planning for the RF side of your network. So what do we mean by that? Future-proofing is when you want to make sure that configurations that maybe you don't need right now, but in the future will be covered by your radio. So what you see here is a case of the Ultralink GX80, our 10 gigabit radio that is in relay mode back-to-back. That's definitely a configuration that you want to consider having, as well as the RLA that you see with radio link aggregation in combination with XPIC or even a protected ring. All of these configurations require a second traffic port on the radio. So make sure that when you consider planning for your network, especially the higher capacities, that 10 gigabit that pretty much everybody is discussing now, this is something to definitely consider when it comes down to planning. Another one is product synergies. This is a very popular item as well. It's dual band. You have to consider when your 10 gigabit radio has problems with the weather, you have a failover switching mechanism to go into the microwave. What you see here is our solution, the Intracom Telecom solution for the dual band that connects our Ultralink GX80 series with our microwave platform. Now this solution is something that we're going to roll out very soon, but we want to let you know that this is something that we do support with our platform, and this is definitely something to consider. What you see is the 10 gigabit, again, the Ultralink GX80 in combination with our microwave platform, the Omnibus BX. And one important feature that I need to mention here is that this is not only designed to work with our radios, but very soon it's going to support third-party microwave as well. Another item to be considered, it may not necessarily be critical, but it's definitely something nice to have because it really helps with optimization, is the easiness when it comes down to planning the RF side, planning those point-to-point links through path laws. If you can have this under a single platform, you have a tremendous advantage there, and it happens so that Intracom Telecom does have that capability. We offer that with our UniMS, which is our network management system, and the radio planning add-on. This capability offers you to have coverage analysis, detailed link and interference analysis, have 3D building maps and import radio as well as antenna equipment files, even multi-vendor equipment files. So this is a tremendous advantage because you have a single platform to do your maintenance, planning, rollout, as well as optimization. Now, switching gears, we talked about the RF side. What Alex and I talked about up until now was the RF side, the radio side. Let's talk about the network side, the Ethernet domain. Now, obviously, this is not supposed to be a tutorial on Ethernet protocols and OAMs or carrier Ethernet, but what we want to do is bring up some main points that you need to consider when you're planning your network. And one critical thing that is coming up lately a lot is that we have to consider the actual service instead of the point-to-point link in the case of going from one point to point B. Let's consider the concept of the end customer being behind that termination point within a cloud of a Ethernet, let's say, service. That's where you have to consider that you're going beyond the traditional point-to-point link. And as soon as you do that, your end customer may be inside a carrier Ethernet domain. That creates tremendous characteristic requirements. Your customer then may require quality of service, different traffic characteristics, traffic shaping, even specific latency. All of these things pose the question, do you want to go after those new revenue streams and have a radio that supports it? Or do you just want to limit your market from those potential revenues? Well, obviously the answer is that Intracom Telecom does offer that. You can still do it with a simple pipe, especially at the 10 gigabit capacity. However, you would require additional networking infrastructure to support these services. How is that possible? Well, the answer is the embedded layer 2 switch that is inside our radios. What you see here is a diagram of our full outdoor radio that includes our antenna, our radio transceiver, our modem, again, inside in-house design and manufacturing, and a network processor. This is what drives everything to make the switch happen. So as soon as you have the second port on your radio, then you can deliver those carrier Ethernet services. These services are standardized services. There are protocols that are defined by the Metro Ethernet Forum that gives you scalability, reliability, end-to-end service management, as well as, most importantly, quality of service. Now, you don't necessarily have to have carrier Ethernet support. I'll give you here a simple example where you have actual savings, with the Intracom Telecom radio. And you actually can see how you can save money on the switch. This particular example, you see the Ultralink GX80, our 10 gigabit radio in relay mode. This right in the middle can be a place where you deliver services to your enterprise. This can be a building with your customer there. So as soon as you take out basically the two radios, the Ultralink GX80s are back-to-back connected. And as soon as you take the port that interconnects the two radios, you can see the additional ports that are available for AddDrop. Those ports are right here. So one of them is taken for the interconnect, the other three remain open for AddDrop. What that means is that if you combine these three ports with the second radio in the same side that looks the other way, that means that you have a switch that you don't need. you got 6 ports on these 2 radios that you can use for AddDrop. And on top of that, you can deliver granular capacity from 100 megabits all the way to 1 gigabit. So that's your savings on the switch in this case. Now, OAM, operations, administrations, and maintenance protocols, they're equally important. When you consider the future of your network, OAM is something you have to consider. Think of it this way. You have your island, you have your own network. However, you're having partnerships with other operators, other businesses. When you do that, and you have to consider the end-to-end connectivity, you need 3 major categories of protocols. You got the Ethernet link OAM 802.3AH, sorry, that is the link right here. Then you also have to have network connectivity when you're looking at the different islands between the operators. That network connectivity is offered with 802.1AG for connectivity fault management. Last but not least, you got the service performance that you're looking at the end-to-end infrastructure, what happens at your service end-to-end. That is offered with a Y1731. So if everybody in between the, throughout this cloud is supporting those protocols, OAM standards, then you definitely have tremendous OpEx savings because you can identify the fault and isolate it. And of course, Intracom Telecom's radios do support these. Now let's look at the carrier Ethernet services. What do we mean by that? These are basically service level agreement services, but what most importantly they do is they help you avoid abuse of your network resources, the congestion as we know it. Think of the case, we've all seen it, bursty video traffic that are, as we all know, it's bandwidth hungry, and that can create problems with delays on your voice over IP. Definitely you want to avoid that. So even though you can increase your revenue by offering the new carrier Ethernet services, when you support those protocols, it also helps you avoid congestion in your network. What is the way, what is the tool, the heart of this carrier Ethernet service? How is it driven and how does it happen? Well, the answer is the HQOS, hierarchical quality of service. Well, everybody knows quality of service, but the difference is that HQOS, in addition to port prioritization that we know, it helps you deliver policing as well as shaping. So with HQOS, you can now do this per traffic class or even per VLAN in addition to port shaping that you have with QoS. So that's how it happens. HQOS is what really drives the quality of service support for the new services. But let's look at a more specific example. What are the main categories that the Metro Ethernet Forum defines those services, those carrier Ethernet services? Well, it uses Ethernet line, which is point-to-point services, and Ethernet LAN, which are multi-point to multi-point services. Here, what you see is a very specific example that you can use those services, and it brings actually the point that this whole subcategory of the webinar is, that you need to see the service beyond just the point-to-point location. So you're having company A here that with a link, this can be the Ultralink GX80 as you can see here, it is actually connected to a branch office for the same company, which is over here. This is happening with 2 links, the Ultralink GX80. However, these go over a carrier Ethernet network. This is a public domain that supports all these protocols that I mentioned before, the carrier Ethernet network. So all of that is happening because this cloud is supporting the standards that I just mentioned. So therefore, you can go beyond your own network. You can have quality of service, specific service parameters that you can enforce. And obviously, this is not going to create any congestion inside your network because all of these traffic characteristics are very clearly defined. Now, last but not least, we have to mention the capability of supporting 5G backhaul. 5G is something that we hear all over the place recently. So if you ever want to consider the additional revenues from working with a large operator for 5G backhaul, Intracom Telecom's equipment do support this. They're ready for 5G backhaul. So definitely need to consider 5G backhaul when you plan for your network. Now, Alex, you want to talk a little bit about this performance guarantee, our trial program that we have?
Absolutely, George. So the best way to quantify what George and I were saying is to see real-world examples based on your networks and your requirements. And for that, we have developed a risk-free performance guarantee program. Essentially, this comes in 4 stages. You identify the length, and traditionally that's by providing GPS coordinates or physical locations. We engineer the right solutions. So leveraging path loss, we provide you with a link budget analysis, highlighting your capacity when it's raining and when it's not. And we have an agreement that we sit down and we collectively define the criteria of success. And we have a stock document we use with each one of our product lines that really help us quantify what's important to you and how to verify those key criteria of success. But what this gives you is a sense of the product you're purchasing will work now and for the future. So traditional trials run 30 days. So this gives you yet another example how we're setting the bar. We've got a product line that, through our system gain, gives us the ability to really push the envelope. And we follow it up with a 3-year warranty and a performance guarantee program that gives you that safeguard that that product you're purchasing is going to work now in your network and will be there to support you as you grow through your future endeavors.
Excellent. Sue, we can have the closing remarks right after the Q&A session, or would you like for us to do it now?
You can do the closing remarks now.
Okay, excellent. So right before we go into the Q&A session, I just like to summarize basically what we told you here is this is the first part of our series of webinars regarding the product life cycle. So we got the planning we just talked about here, and the next 2 webinars will be about the operation as well as maintenance of the network. So planning, what we discussed today, is basically separated in 2 subcategories: the RF side, the radio side, as well as the networking. On the RF side, we talked about that you have to consider, obviously, as we know, the system gain. You have to consider the different configurations that the radio needs to support so that you can have capability to support, future-proof your radio. The different synergies as far as dual band support, even the easiness of RF planning with the tool we showed you and the RF planning add-on we have on our UniMS network management platform. Now, all of these Intracom Telecom radios, they support all of these and they give you the best performance. The network side, basically we showed you how you have to consider, again, future-proofing your hardware so that you can support the additional services that go beyond the termination of the link. It's not just a point-to-point. Think about something beyond that, where your end customer can be behind, inside a public network where they need connectivity, and you're looking at the Ethernet side of the service. That's where you need the additional protocols that need to be supported, and we can do that with the embedded layer 2 switch. So you're saving a lot of money there with the Intracom telecom radios when they support those kind of protocols and mechanisms. The beauty of this is combining both of these sections, the RF as well as the network side, you're getting a carrier grade radio that can address pretty much anything you can possibly have on the enterprise domain. So that's why we consider that this solution, our radios are leaders in that respect, because they can definitely maximize your ROI investment for the enterprise. Now that's it as far as the closing remarks. Sue, you want to lead the Q&A?
Well, I'll leave it just with 3 different applications real quick,
Yeah.
and then Sue, we can go into it. So I just wanted to give you 3 different applications we've done very recently.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, this was 3 weeks ago. We had a customer who was rural Michigan. He was approximately 1.23 miles out. And again, this is the middle of absolute nowhere. He had a problem. He was looking to get a gigabit of transport speed to a community. And from there, he was going to break it up with a sub 6 gig multi-point product. His challenge, though, was he couldn't lay fiber, and he couldn't get to where he was trying to based on trees. There was a complete saturation. So sub 6 gig didn't work. The trees killed him. And then the same thing with license backhaul. We looked at doing it at 11 gig, 1823, and none of that would have worked either because of the huge Fresnel zones associated with the license. One of the values of millimeter wave is the Fresnel zone. It's virtually a laser pointer. So we were able to, literally thread the needle here by leveraging our narrow beam, and this is just part of the premise of E-band. We were able to get full connection. So that was an example where millimeter wave worked while sub 6 gig and license couldn't because of the size of the Fresnel zone. The second one we had, this was, last Friday, I had a customer come in and he was pushing the envelope. He had a site, it was 6.23 miles-ish, and he needed gigabit transport. Now, this guy was fine for a gig speed, but he wanted something that could work up to 3. So the problem here was he didn't want to use licensed. So this was at the absolute max, and I was, quite frankly, leery of even looking at it. But we were able to come up with a solution where this customer had a gigabit, up to 3 gigabit speed for, I think we ended up with 3 nines reliability. So what I'm hoping that you guys take from this is that extra system gain and the antenna, that adds up. And it really, and again, it depends on where you are, because rain regions make a huge impact here. But I would have told you 6 months ago that you can't do millimeter wave at those types of distances. So I really encourage, if you've got links 6 miles or less, take advantage, reach out. Worst case scenario is we run a path and we say it doesn't work. But with this product, again, we are changing what has been possible. I don't want to take up too much time. I'll leave it that with those 2 examples. Sue, did you want to start with the questions?
Sure. We're gonna do one more little bit of a polling here. This is just for if you would like some information. In the meantime, we do have a question come in here. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. What is the best way to compare your performance?
I'd say by leveraging a link budget. So if you provide the GPS coordinates, ensure that there's line of sight, taking path loss, and that's going to give you the best theoretical model. That way we can say, based on your distances and the criteria, here's your reliability. Here's what's going to be when it's a clear day. Here's what's going to happen when it rains. That'd be the greatest way to quantify the performance of these radios and to compare. It could be something you've done before, or if you've got something now or in the future, it gives a real good litmus on the performance, on what your expectation could and should be.
Okay. I have another question come in. It says, how do I start the performance guarantee process?
Another great question. So to start, you would reach out to us directly or through your CTI rep. What we would do is we've got a form we could fill out. I mean, it's pretty. It's like the GPS coordinates, antenna heights, capacities, requirements, that stuff. Or you could just start with sending an email. All we need to start, again, is those GPS coordinates and to get an understanding of what you're looking to do. Are we talking a 3 gig link? Are we talking a 10 gig link? How do we scale? Some basic information. Again, we'll run that in path loss and provide that link budget. But that's also a great segment to that performance guarantee. We 100% stand behind these products. And that's illustrated through the 3-year warranty to the 30-day guarantee that that link will do as advertised. And I can't say this loud enough. If it doesn't, it comes back on us. And we've done a lot of these guarantees, and they don't come back. Great question, though.
Okay, good. Another good question here is, which is the maximum capacity for a 5-mile link in Miami, Florida?
Okay, that's a great question, too. So I would say let's take the guesswork out. If you could give the GPS coordinates very quickly, we can give you a definitive answer. Okay. I would say to reach out to your CTI rep. George and I are standing by. We can get you a link budget very quickly. We do have some really good customers in Florida, and we have had a lot of success in that area, even with the higher end.
Okay. Do you currently have inventory for these items? Somebody else asked.
Okay, absolutely. So we have a preferred partner, which is CTIconnect. There is plenty of stock at their location. We also carry a significant buffer stock as well in our Michigan facility. So whatever you need, we can certainly facilitate. And our goal here, especially in this unprecedented time, is to ensure that we're here to support you through our product, our service, and our supply chain. Okay,
and I think you sort of answered the second part of that question is, how do I go about buying these antennas, this equipment?
So I would say contact your CTIconnect rep. They will set up a quick call with us. We'll sit down and figure out what exactly you need, and we'll get you into the right solution.
Okay. Is there any other questions? If anybody has any questions, if you can type in the, here we go. In general, what is the maximum distance for the 6250 to achieve 1 gig aggregate and also have a decent fade performance, 1,000 feet?
Say that again. So that question was the 60 gig product, the street node?
The 62. So in general, what is the maximum distance for the 6250 to achieve 1 gig aggregate and also have decent fade performance of 1,000 feet?
Okay. So definitively, I would say the same answer before the GPS coordinates. But if I'm going to give you generalities on the 60 gig, I wouldn't take it past 0.25 miles. It's got embedded antennas, and that's the trade-off, that it will self-align, but again, to do so, we had to put antennas directly into the radio. So rule of thumb is 1/4 mile is about the max we want to push this. If you've got something a little bit before that, again, GPS coordinates, I'll give you a definitive answer.
Yeah, Alex, let me just add here that with regards to this specific question, it talks about 1 gig aggregate. Now, this is what our competition is using. However, the Street Node V60 is a radio that can actually deliver up to 1.6 FDD. So we're talking about a lot more capacity than just 1 gig aggregate. So the distance that you mentioned is actually not comparable to us. We are having almost 3 times as much capacity that we need to be compared. And indeed, yes, the 60 gigahertz band is what really drives the physics there, but wanted to make sure that it's clear that our capacity is 1.6 FDD.
Okay, great answer. If anyone has any other questions, if you can type the question in here. We're getting ready to end the Q&A session. So I'll just give it a couple more seconds. And in the meantime, if everyone, we just want to make sure that everyone stays safe and healthy. And I think that we are going to conclude the Q&A part of the session, and we'll end this webinar. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your CTIconnect rep, and their information is here on the last slide. And you can also call them at that phone number. Thank you for attending our webinar.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.